It is a great honor for me to introduce Dmitri Aleksandrovich Prigov, poet and artist, whose poetry has been described as coming after literature, after art, after history, after Soviet politics. Despite his postmodern stance, Dmitri Aleksandrovich's poetry treats the classical Pushkinian themes of poet and czar, and intelligentsia and narod, the people, while at the same time legitimizing the behavioral model of the common Soviet citizen, which includes culinary desire, passion for sports, hockey and football, etc., alongside his concern, the citizen's concern with Soviet politics. One of Prigov's key strategies has been the domestication of Soviet totalitarianism by means of a parodic use of Soviet cliches. In this sense, his poetry is part of the aesthetic project of Moscow conceptualism, about which we heard recently from Ilya Kabakov. Today we have the privilege to hear from another of its leaders. Dmitri Aleksandrovich's poetry constructs and analyzes ever-changing self-representations. He has his own unique voice, characterized by gestural, performative poetics and a laconic conversational intonation. He prefaces one of his collections, 5,000, or Merry Sailor, Fireman, Jew, and Militiaman, with the statement that intonation coagulates into the sign. Интонация свертывается в знак. Prigov graduated from the Department of Sculpture in the Stroganov School for the Arts. For money, he sculpted, and I learned this just in the last few days, he sculpted large figures of animals and other kinds of figures for children's playgrounds. So the Soviet artist, the Soviet writer of the late 60s, 70s, and 80s who worked in children's literature and children's arts is part of the whole conceptualist phenomenon, and Prigov is certainly a representative of that. This was the source of his income, and as he says, he lived well then. It paid well. He only had to work 1 month out of the year and could keep himself that way. He stopped, this source of income came to an end some years after he became a leading figure in the conceptualist underground. Belatedly, during the Gorbachev era, he landed briefly in a psikhushka, a mental institution. Dmitri Aleksandrovich is also a graphic artist and most recently a novelist. In the summer of 2000, he published his first novel, Живите в Москве, Live in Moscow, which consists of macabre scenes from Moscow life. Like Pushkin, who is one of his poetic characters, Dmitri Aleksandrovich Prigov, наше все, our everything, a phrase normally accorded to Pushkin. He also sings, according to him, he yells, and has promised to sing or yell for us from Pushkin's Eugene Onegin. This event is sponsored by the Slavic Department and the Institute for Slavic, East European, and Eurasian Studies. Special thanks to Dana Sherry, who has taken care of many of the details, the crucial details. And I have a question before we begin. Do we have people in the audience who know no Russian? A few. Okay. So we will have some handouts for you because basically Dmitri Aleksandrovich is going to read in Russian and speak in Russian, and his statements, his more theoretical statements, will be translated by Professor Harsharam of the Slavic Department. So let's begin. Welcome, Dmitri.